Hi everyone, welcome to the special topics class titled Empirical Software Engineering. Um, I am the instructor for this course. My name is Dr. Bonita Sharif, and the class itself is scheduled to be held on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12:30 to 1:45 in Louis Pound Hall in room 101. However, since this is the first week of classes, we are remote and asynchronous this week. Okay, so my office is in the Shore Center. If you knew my office before, it's actually moved 2 doors down. So now I'm in 103 Shore. Um, you can set up an appointment at any point in time to come and visit with me. The best thing is to do these appointments via Discord. I'll talk about Discord in a minute if you don't know what that is. Some of you who have done classes with me know that I use this as a method of communication along with Canvas. I do have a phone. You can also leave a message there. You can see that on the screen. And the Skype, Twitter, and my Discord ID. So for the course, mainly Canvas will be your main point of entry. Okay, so from there you have access to all kinds of things for the course. You will have to connect to a Discord server. Please try to connect within the day. If not, the link expires because I don't want various bots to come in and join. I've had that issue in the past. So I keep that invite that expires only in 24 hours. So if you click that link and you get an expiration message, just email me and I will generate one for you again. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, go to that Discord link and get yourself into our Discord space. So it's very, if you have not used Discord before, it's very similar to Slack. It's basically team messaging, but targeted towards gamers. Okay, so we are not going to obviously be playing games, maybe, I don't know, but we won't really be playing games in the class, but you can do that on your own time. But we will be using this quite extensively to communicate. Okay, there is a box folder I created for the class, which will contain lectures and all kinds of things, papers, PDFs that you need to read. Okay, and everything, like I said, will be linked from Canvas, the modules on Canvas. So remember, if you don't remember anything else, just remember you got to go to Canvas, and from there you can access the box folder, the Discord channel, as well as the um, assignments and any other quizzes that I provide. Okay, so let's talk now a little bit about the course. But before that, I wanted to give you a brief description about myself, I guess, because I usually do that if I was standing in front of you. Um, so I am at UNL for the past 2 years. I came here in 2018, and I am currently starting this semester associate professor in CSE. In the department, I have a lab. It's called the Software Engineering Empirical Studies Lab, which is located also in Shore Center on the second floor, room 202. And we basically do a lot of empirical evaluation using humans as well as using a questionnaire and surveys, and just to figure out how to make the software process better. This course is a direct connection to my research. So now we'll look at interesting things here and try to see if we can kind of get one step closer to solving some of those open questions that still remain. Okay, I graduated from Kent State University. I studied in Ohio, so I was in Ohio for nearly actually 12 years, and I studied my bachelor's. Actually, I did my bachelor's in Cyprus in Europe, stayed there for about 3.5 years, and then I worked in industry for 2 years as a Java developer, and then I moved to Kent State, where I did my master's and my PhD specializing in software engineering. Okay, so and then I moved, I worked for a while at Ohio University, not Ohio State, Ohio University, which is in Athens, Ohio. I don't know if you're Go Bobcats. And, it's a beautiful campus. But after that, I moved to Youngstown State and was there for about 6 years, after which I moved to UNL. So I like Lincoln a lot. It's a great place to live. My hobbies are I like running. People who know me do know this. Me along with Chris Burke, we formed a running club, and we used to do 5Ks. Not last semester, the semester before, but hopefully we get to do that again soon. Okay, so stay tuned on the Bits and Bytes. You will see some announcements there. So that's about me. I'm happy to chat more if you have questions. If you have general questions about research or grad school or just industry, in general, what do people look for? Feel free to reach out because I do collaborate with industry quite a bit and try to keep up to date, of course, go back and forth and see what do they want from our graduates and what should we be kind of emphasizing. So this course really changes constantly. It's never one standard course that is given every semester. So it does change based on new findings, new research, new papers that are put out. Okay, so let me briefly talk a little bit about, in a nutshell, what this course is about and what you're going to learn from it. So it is a special topics, which means it's not a traditional class where you have these traditional assignments and exams. So it's very much a project-based course and where you will be doing a project in a group of 2 or 3, because we have about 11 students in the class. I would assume groups of 2 just to make it easier to collaborate in terms of time and such. And maybe we'll have one group of 3. So we'll see how that pans out though. But the course itself is designed to introduce you to the different research methods in software engineering. Evidence is crucial. So I don't like to come up with an idea just because I think it's cool without testing it. So evidence is crucial to support an idea or solution. And so we look at the several different ways you can collect evidence. It's not just one method. There are many different methods to do this. But it'll focus on how to do this research in a sound manner. How do you research a good problem? How do you know the problem is good to begin with? What's the study design? How do you develop a design to test causation? Remember, causation and correlation are 2 different things, right? You want to test causation, cause and effect. If I change this, does it affect some outcome? And we're going to learn how to do that. It's actually not as simple as it looks because there are so many confounding factors that are at play oftentimes. Then we'll look at how we instrument the study, how we do both qualitative as well as quantitative evaluation. We'll look at metric selection. And then since my research also deals with a lot of the human factors, we'll look at human factors and how they play into the picture of empirical evaluation. Okay, so the project is basically, so I'll be lecturing on these topics, but the project is basically your place to show what you've learned and take these ideas and apply it to a very specific problem in SE. I will be giving you a list of problems that I think you can work on, but I am happy to hear from you. So let's say if you're working somewhere and you have a specific research problem that deals with the topics in this class, you can pitch that to me as well. And then we can talk about whether it's suitable or not for the class. Okay, so that's in a nutshell, but I will talk more about these objectives in a minute. So the prerequisites, you have to have completed SOF 261 or CSE 361, and I'm sure all of y'all are seniors except for one junior and one grad student. So I think you'll have pretty much covered these prerequisites. So you do need to, I won't be teaching you programming, but you have to write some scripts here in order to make sense of the data, right? And I will guide you as to what scripts or libraries you can use. Again, you are free to choose what you like. I do have suggestions, but again, I want to see your creativity here as well, because some of these things are not, don't have canned solutions, and it really depends on on the project, on what your research question is, what your metrics are, and so on. There is no official textbook for this class simply because it is impossible to find one. We rely on reading material that is state of the art, that gets output by research teams every year. And so I rely on that. That's much reliable than getting a textbook. I mean, a textbook would go out of date pretty soon. So there is no textbook. There will be assigned readings given to you for every week. Like if you look at Canvas now, we'll go to the website in a minute, but if you look at it, you will see some readings posted, which is basically a paper that you get to. My main ask is that you complete that paper reading within that week. Don't keep it for later because we will be reading a lot of papers in this class. You need some time. Your mind needs some time to digest the material in these papers, and so you really need to do the readings every week, or else if you keep them for, if you read like 10 papers in the third week, you're going to get overwhelmed. It's very easy to mix and match the papers, and it becomes a big mess. So it's nice to really do it as it's assigned to you. There are reference books. You absolutely do not need to get these books. I just have them for your reference if you are interested, let's say, in further research and further study, or you just like to read advanced stuff. There is this Guide to Advanced Empirical Software Engineering that I highly recommend. I used that book quite a bit when I was a grad student. And then I will pick in my lectures, I will pick and choose things from these books as well, so you don't really need to go and get them. And then there's another book by Bolen, The Experimentation in Software Engineering. Okay, so quickly, what are the topics that I plan to cover in this class? Of course, it's not limited to or covered in this order, but what are the different empirical methods used in software engineering? So we'll look at 6 or 7 methods. We'll talk about designs. How do we develop designs? What are the different methods of data collection? For example, questionnaires and surveys is one. But then in my lab, I also use biometric devices like eye trackers to collect data. When do you use an eye tracker, for instance? Just because you have one doesn't mean you're going to go and use it, right? There has to be a specific use case. So we'll talk about all the pros and cons of the different methods of data collection. Then we'll also touch on qualitative and quantitative analysis. Okay, and we'll see the differences between them. We'll talk about threats to validity, and then each and every one of you will actually be doing IRB training, it's the Institutional Review Board training, so that you know what it is that I as a researcher, or you as a researcher eventually, working in a team, needs to comply with. I mean, so at UNL, I cannot just go and get a subject or a participant and come in to do a study. Okay, so I have to actually get permission from the Institutional Review Board to actually come in and to tell them what exactly I'm going to ask this participant, and only then I can actually get them into my lab and do the study. So we are, and this is the compliance I'm talking about. You have to have this compliance, and I would like you also to go through that so you know that there are policies and procedures in place that we as researchers need to be ethical and need to follow. Okay, and then we'll talk about other human factors and usability. So I've outlined about 11 learning objectives in this course, C1 through C11, and I pretty much cover all of them. So they are very high level. Each of these will be broken down. If you look at your weekly learning objectives, I will break each of these down into sub-objectives, and then you will see them listed in your weekly modules. For example, in week 1, I've already listed them there. But these are the high-level things. So, review scientific literature by providing strengths and weaknesses with justification. Obviously, this is a very broad objective, but then every week we'll put it to a very specific use case, a specific paper, different topics, and so on. So that way we get a broad idea. Now, I also want to point out here, I talk about research, but this is not just the case for academia. So let's say you're a senior and you think, oh, I'm not going to do research. Well, even if you take an industry job, you have to be, your boss comes to you and says, what are the differences between, find a product that does this, X, Y, and Z, right? You have to be able to convince them via some sound methodological reasoning as to why they should choose product A over product B, right? All these things we learn here also are will come in handy for that kind of use case. So this is not always the researcher in academia, but just a person that is asked to, for instance, come up with a set of choices and objectively try to reason about them. Okay, so what you learn here, it will be useful for you even if you go into industry. Okay, the grading aspect of this course, since it is a swing class, 400, 800 level, I do have separate grading schemes for undergraduates and graduates. So the undergrads will, well, I'll talk about the common things first. So both the undergrads and graduates will have to do paper readings and write-ups. And each of those will be worth, or rather the total chunk of those will be worth 20%. Okay, then the undergrads will have 10% counted as their class presentations. Okay, and this will be mainly just one presentation. Since we have a shorter semester, I usually have two, but in this case, I'm just going to have one. And then you will have a couple of assignments for the undergrads. The project is the same for both, 40%. The final presentation, this is your final exam. Okay, so remember, this is a project-based course, special topics. I don't have a written exam. It's basically the final exam when you go in with your teammate or teammates and present your project, either in class or remotely, depends on how where we are at that point. I have both options on the table right now. Class participation and discussion. So when I say class participation, I'm talking about our Discord server that you have to log into. And basically, I have this thing, and I can open it up now so you can see it. So this is our Discord server right here. And I have one person, Ayush is here. But basically, there's a check-in channel, and you have to answer these questions. So this counts as discussion. So it says, before every class, I would like each student to pick one question from the list and respond to it here. So I can start by doing this. I can say, what's new? That's the first, so I pick number 1. I say, okay, so I have, I've never taught, I said 1, I have never taught in this format before. I'm excited to see how this goes, right? That's the what's new. So you can have multiple things, multiple numbers you can choose, but I'd like everybody to do this at least once before every class. That is Tuesday and before the Tuesday and Thursday class. Okay, and that way you can have a follow-up question, and you can kind of talk with your teammates as well. Okay, give me a minute, just checking my battery. Okay, so going back here, so coming back to class discussion, so since I won't be really taking attendance in class, right, I will be counting the discussion to as your attendance, and everything will be, that 10% will cover that. Now I will break that down further soon to give you a breakdown of what exactly I mean by discussions, because there will be several things. So Discord counts, the check-ins count as one part, but then I also have other things like discussion forums that I will set up. So each one of them, when they come in, the number of points will be listed and the percentage for them. Okay, so that 10% will be broken down. And then you notice here the only difference between undergrads and grads is that the assignments are 15% for the graduates and 10% for undergrads, and class presentations are 5% for graduates and 10% for undergrads. I say class presentations, but there's just one in this case. Okay. Okay, so the graduates get to do one more assignment. So like I said before, there are 2 short assignments for the undergrads, but the graduates have 3. Okay. The grading scale is standard grading scale, A+ to F. Okay, so course activities. So let's talk about the first thing, the paper readings and write-ups. Okay, so you will be given several paper readings every week throughout the semester, not the first week. Now this is the paper reading I gave you for the first week. This is not a paper reading and write-up. It's just a paper reading, which is basically just reading a chapter. Think of it as reading a chapter. This, however, paper readings and write-ups will be an assignment that will be posted. And there will be quite a few of these every week, depending on how we get through. And for each of those, though, you have to do a write-up. And I will explain how that write-up needs to be done. Okay? There will be maybe 5 or 6 of these, depending on how we get through the material. There will be class presentations. The student will present a paper to the class. They used to be 2 before, but now since we have a shorter semester, I just have cut this down to 1. Now, the way I don't assign you these papers. I give you a set of papers. You get to choose, and it's usually assigned on a first come, first served basis. So I will put all these announcements out on Discord, and I will say, for instance, the papers are in this folder. Let me know who wants to select what. And once people select it, I will update the list, and you can see that in Box. Remember, all the artifacts of this course reside in Box. Okay. As for the class presentations, if you do it remotely, then you will have to record it. If we are still meeting in person on Tuesday and Thursday, you can do it in class. If there are any remote participants, they will have to Zoom into my room and give the presentation that way. Okay, so that's that. The short assignments, I talked about just 2 assignments, just a way to learn theory. Then one assignment will involve writing a script, but again, it's something that is relatively easy given that you have the prerequisites. And then finally, the project. This is 40% of your grade, right? And it has 5 milestones that I've put it under. The first one is the project proposal. So when I give you the prompt for the project next week, you will decide who you want to work with in the class as your group team member or members. And then I'd suggest to keep it to 2. And one team needs to be 3 because we have an odd number of people. And then there are certain milestones and due dates that I've already kind of tentatively put in the schedule. So this is the schedule right now. Note how I have here anything beyond the current date is tentative. So, as we go, let's say we have some spillover and so on, I change this respectively. So today you will see it says syllabus introductions, administration course overview, and then I will talk about empirical epistemologies, which will be another lecture. So right now we are doing the syllabus and introductions and any course bookkeeping. It says here what paper to read. If you go into Canvas, there's actually a link. If you go into week 1 in Canvas, there's a link under week 1 readings where you can actually click that link and it'll take you directly to the paper. Okay. Once the empirical epistemologies is recorded, I will put that lecture on here as well, so you can click on that and view it offline. So everything that I record or do in class, I will try to also record and have an offline view of that lecture. Okay. And then it says here, we are still on asynchronous remote. Join the Discord. I don't have the link here, so I don't change it in multiple places. It's only in the syllabus, which is on Canvas. And then finally, do your Discord check-ins before every class, okay, like I did mine today. Note that I do count these. So, at the end, I do a data dump of everything, and I do count those towards points. So, make sure you do these as you go and not just wait at week 14 and say, I'm going to do all of them then. It defeats the whole purpose. The whole purpose of this class check-in is to build a community and a culture around the different people you are interacting with. At some point, you're going to meet them in your career somewhere. It's a small world. So these things just have a nice way of letting us know that we're not alone, especially right now. Okay, so just use it. I use it myself. I will use it as well. So I encourage you to and only share what you want. I'm not asking you to share things that you're not comfortable with. Okay, so that's the schedule. Let me go back to the syllabus here. Okay, so we have the milestones listed here. As you can see, the project proposal is usually done in the early in the semester, fourth week or so, and then you give me a midterm update. That update is actually peer reviewed both by other teammates as well as me, and I will give you feedback, after which you will take that feedback into account and write the final report. Okay. The project itself, I will give you a list of topics. Just hold on to actually see that early next week. Okay, I have a list of things that I would consider to be good projects, but of course you can come up with your own. But it has to be approved by me. Okay, so there is an approval date also. If you notice in the schedule, if I go back to it, you will see here I do have listed project posted, right? That's on 8/25. I'll try to get it earlier if possible. And then if you see later on, it says project approvals given. So that's something that is important to have, because you cannot just choose any project. It has to make sense for the class and be able to use the methods we're learning in this class, right? Okay, the final presentation, that is the exam. You come in and you do the exam, the 10%. The exam is basically the presentation. Okay, again, this is an easy thing to get, class participation and discussion. There should be no reason that you cannot get this, this 10%. Okay, easy 10%. You just participate in the discussion forum. When I put something up, you do your check-ins. Easy peasy. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about are the policies. Now, I do have this quite verbose, and I'm not going to read every single line over here, but I just want to make sure that you are aware of these policies. So late policies, I usually have a 5% penalty. Hopefully this will not happen. Makeup policies only. Again, I'm very flexible with this. If you have an emergency, or if you anticipate a delay, let me know right away, so I know how to deal with that. Don't wait and till the last minute to let me know. Now, attendance, I do say necessary and expected, but this is just based on the discussion. Okay, so if this was an in-person class, in any other semester, I did take attendance. Okay, but not this semester. The attendance is substituted for the discussions. Okay, so if you discuss and all the things that I point out, you will get points for that, as I mentioned before as well. Integrity is very important. It's kind of hard to cheat in this class because they're very unique problems, right? Each group will be given a very specific problem, but it can happen. You cannot just copy and paste things that you find online, right? Every single word that you write in your project report, that's the end deliverable. It's the scripts and whatnot that you create, but in the end, you will be writing a project report about 6 to 8 pages, okay, in a specific template in LaTeX that I give you, and I will explain about how to use it and so on. So don't worry about that. I will show you how to do that stuff via some live demos later on in the semester. But that PDF that you generate, that report, cannot be plagiarized. So if you're unsure about what plagiarism is, you ask. Okay, it's sometimes there's a fine line, and it's hard to tell one from the other. For example, I'll give you an example. If I, let's say, want to refer to my own work that was published earlier, I need to cite it. I need to say, okay, this person, which is me, I mean, I did it, but I still need to cite it and say, I did it. Okay, so I cannot just not say it. So there are these little things, but we'll talk about that when we talk about writing the related work and literature search. Okay. Let me clear that typo. Yes, so there is a policy in the department that we use for plagiarism. Hopefully we do not have to worry about that in this class. Because remember, we are, this whole relationship between faculty or instructor and student is based on trust, right? You trust that I give you things that you benefit from, and I provide content for you, and then I need to trust also that you are doing your part to make sure you're not cheating the system, right? I cannot police every single thing, but I do put the PDFs through Turnitin and check plagiarism that way. So we do have ways that we can check these things. So I would suggest just don't do it. But you're better off putting your time into thinking about how to solve the problem than trying to figure out how you're going to copy and paste things in a smart way. It's just going to waste a lot more time. I try not to give incomplete grades, but again, if there's an emergency, contact me. You should be checking your email frequently. In this case, you should also be having, Discord is also available on your phone, so you can put it on your phone and get notifications. You want to enable the notifications in Discord, otherwise you're not going to get them, okay? Because there are two options. You can say only notify mentions or just everything. So I would suggest doing everything. Or if you know you're going to check it every day, then make sure you do that. Because remember, announcements are done via Discord. I'm not using Canvas to do announcements. There'll be too many things. I want you to have just one place to go and look for things, okay? Device policy, if you're, you can use your laptops if you're in class. That's not a problem, as long as we're all physically distant. Now remember, when we do have the in-class starting next week, everyone needs to wear a mask, right? If you don't have a mask, you might have some. I have 2 or 3 that I can bring with me for people who've forgotten, but in September, come September, we are expecting everyone to remember to bring their masks with them, okay? And the classroom is positioned or set up in a way that everything is 6 feet apart. Or at least I think it is. I haven't been there yet. I'm going to go there tomorrow and check it out. All right, so if you don't know how to email your professors, this is actually a nice article to read because I've had some weird salutations in the past. So you don't say, yo, what's up, right? And there is a certain way to address your professors. So I think I'll leave that up to you to read if you want. Student expectations, you need to, so this is a course that does require a lot of reading, okay? It's not it's not a hard class, but it's not an easy class either. It's somewhere in between, and it depends on how much time you're going to put into it. If you put in time every week, and you're up to speed with your project, you know your research questions, you know your study design, you know how you're going to implement your study design, you know how you're going to do your analyses, the writing of the report becomes a lot easier. Okay, and that's why I have those milestone checks. So you don't just have one deliverable to output at the end. You have all of these checks in the middle. So yeah, that is your responsibility. The lecture itself as well is your responsibility to view once I put it on Canvas. the recorded one, or if you come in class, you can see it live. Okay, so check Canvas often, back up your stuff, just stuff. All these bullet points actually came to be from things that I experienced as well as a student, as well as other students telling me, oh, I wish I had done this, right? So I just have these here so you know what to expect, or just tips for you. One important thing is, since it's a group project, right? Each student in that group is responsible to carry her or his share of the load, right? You're not doing your friend any favors if you're going to have their back and say they did it when they really didn't. Okay, so I would highly suggest that you not do that. I would even suggest don't work with your friends. Work with somebody that you don't know in the class. Of course, I'm not going to police this, but this is just a suggestion. So you are more you get to know more people, right? Plan ahead. Don't put this. So these projects, these milestones, and even these assignments, I'm going to tell you right now, they cannot be done the night before. Okay, because it requires a lot of thought to it. You cannot write 6 pages of a paper the night before. It is impossible to do. Even I cannot do that. Okay, so, and I've been writing papers for 10 years plus. So it takes iterations. The first thing you write is never optimal. Okay, so you need to go back and rewrite it and do some iterations on it. I do that till today. I mean, the first thing I write is never the thing that I eventually end up submitting. Okay, so please keep that in mind. This is very important. And now when I do my lectures in class, in person, there are things that I will say that luckily you have the recording now. Hopefully you'll go back and view it. I am able to see who views recordings, right? Because I will be using VidGrid that I can see who has actually viewed how much in the recording. Now again, I'm not going to give you points for that, but that's just something that I can view. I'm just letting you know. Yeah, so there are things that you might want to take notes on when I talk in class as well. That'll be easy to go back and check in the recordings. But if it was not recorded, it was a basic standard in-person class like before, I highly recommend the students to take notes. Okay, because it really helps. And when you write something down, you remember it. So do that. Smartphones, the more you have them, the more dumber we get, I think. So keep them away when you're actually reading a paper, because they're just going to come in the way and distract you. Okay, what I do is when I write and when I am actually in a writing session and reading session, I turn off all notifications on my phone. I actually also close my messaging and my email. I do not check those at all. So if they're open, then I have this tendency to go and check them, right? So I don't even check them. This is highly recommended, is to set aside 1 hour every day maybe, or whatever your workflow is. Cut out all these distractions, whatever it might be for you. It might be different things for you than it is for me. And just focus on the reading. Okay, you'll be better off for it. And you'll take less time too. You won't get distracted. All right, so there is the Student Resource Center in Avery. You can go to that link to find out more about it. If you have a disability, do let me know. You can call this number, and they will give you further directions on how to go about that. But please reach out to me as well. Now, this next thing I'm going to talk about, the Writing Center, is a very, very valuable resource for you, even if your native language is English. Okay, you have to be able to articulate clearly in your 6 to 8 page paper what it is that you're trying to convey to your reader. Speaking something out, is not the same as writing it. Right? When you write, you have limited space. You want to write it in a formal way. It's like writing an article for a newspaper. Think about it. So you're basically doing the job of a good journalist, but in a research form, right? So I highly recommend the Writing Center. Is great. It's a great resource. I use them all the time. They will look at your draft. They will suggest corrections. Of course, they are not domain experts, so you can't ask them to solve your research problem. They have no idea how to do that, but they can read what you have and suggest grammatical changes, structural changes, give you transition words, those kinds of things. I will set up a appointment for us with them. I usually co-teach one class with them in this class. So I will contact them and see. I have a slot for them in our schedule, but that moves around. Like I said, it will depend on how much we get covered, but I'll try to get that earlier than later. Okay. In 2021, they have two ways you can connect with them online via real-time video conversation or e-tutoring, okay, via email feedback. So I highly recommend setting up these appointments early because once you get your project prompt, you will see one of the requirements there is to contact the Writing Center for a draft revision. Okay, so basically you have to go there and make an appointment at least once during this course. Okay, so I would highly recommend twice, once when you submit your midterm update and once when you submit your final. Okay, but I'm asking at least once that you need to go in and get them to read your report. And what they do is they send a note to me directly telling me what they did during the time you visited them. Okay, so that will basically that will tell me that you went there, and that way I can give you the points for that part of your grade. Okay. And again, all of these things will be broken down, when you get your actual project prompt. So now it just says 40%, but the 40% is broken down into more percentages for these little things. Okay. One more thing that I forgot to mention with the project is, let me go up here. I do have it written here, but I just forgot to mention it, is the running totals for time. Okay, it says here, for each of the above milestones, students will be required to keep running logs of time spent on the project. So I want you to know how much time it takes to actually read and write about the project and even do analyses. So you really need to keep track of time. Okay, maybe in 5-minute increments is fine. The method is up to you. You can use Excel sheets, you can use whatnot, but every team needs to submit this time log as well at these milestones. That will also have a grade to it. Okay, so let me go down where I was. Right, so we finished the Writing Center. The department has a form that you can use to voice your concerns, if any. I highly suggest that if you don't understand anything in the class, right, you have a question, come and talk to me directly. I promise I will not be upset. I want to help you. I want you to succeed in this class. I want you to be able to do well. Okay, so if something is unclear, contact me right away. If you have a question, somebody else probably does, right? From my perspective, sometimes it is not, I don't see sometimes the same view. So it might be that I miss things. And remember, I am also doing this for the first time. I have never taught a class like this completely remote and having this in person and possibly some remote learners. So it is possible that things are going to get missed. I will try my level best for that not to happen. But again, if it does and you notice it, bring it up to me. I will not hold you, hold anything against you. That I can give you my word on that. So I highly recommend doing that because you will not only help yourself but also others in the class. Okay. Counseling services, I highly recommend the CAPS program. If you need help, call that number or reach out to somebody that you trust and get help. Okay. So that's mainly the syllabus. I will take questions on the syllabus in our Discord server, and feel free to ask questions there. Okay, and it's asynchronous this week, so just post your question and I will respond to it. Thanks, everyone.